What's going on, Mr. Rocky Nash? It's so good to have you.
Thanks for inviting me, man.
Can you tell me what's happening within your life right now? What's the journey?
There's a lot of things right now. So right now I'm starting a new company, getting more into the trucking business. So I'm seeing a lot of different things and seeing a lot of different people in different cities.
People in different cities. Let me think about this. I know you to be a guy that's very close to family, to friends. It means a lot to you.
Yeah.
So being a guy that is now on the road, what's that feel like for you?
Well, I like it because even before I got married, I was always that person to take myself out by myself. Like I would take myself to vacation by myself, fly places. I still go to the movies by myself. I never felt like if I'm single, if I want to eat a good steak at a fancy restaurant, I don't want to take a date with me. If I want that steak, I'm taking myself to a steakhouse to eat a good meal. So for me, being alone, it's never been a challenge for me.
So now that you're married, matter of fact, you're coming on a year.
You married me.
That was a privilege.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what, that was a unique wedding. I can honestly say I don't think I've seen as many people with facial tattoos in my whole life. And honestly, but they were all cool people. Everybody at your wedding, they were legit. They were friendly.
Yeah.
Different crowd than I may be used to.
It was definitely, the seating chart was hard to put together because I do know a lot of people from, let's just say, different areas. And sometimes those areas don't get along with this, So I go, are you guys gonna behave at my wedding? And then, bro, it's your wedding. So there was people outside that venue that will never talk to each other. It will be a conflict.
You know what is crazy is at your wedding, you're talking about people of different genres per se, different walks of life.
Different gangs.
Different gangs.
Let's just be honest.
But you know what's so funny is I remember there was probably 4 or 5 different people that said, hey, I know who you are. Rocky's told me a lot about you.
Yeah.
Will you pray for me? So at your wedding celebration, we're all kicking it in the backyard, music's playing, some people are dancing, others are sipping, and here I am having prayer service.
I feel bad for you sometimes because even going back to that, at the same location, we had a kid's birthday party. And everybody knows that kid's birthday party is more of an adult party. It is what it is. It's an excuse for adults to drink, have a good time, listen to good music. And one of my friends, without saying where he's from, but he's in a motorcycle club, a really well-known motorcycle club that's been on the news, on TV shows about it. And this guy, tattoos on the head, big dude. And I told him about you. He met you. And he wanted you to pray over him. And I go, why don't you go to one of the kids' room, let him pray over you? Because by then, I see how people react to your prayers. And, I was always a non-believer of prophets and so on. And I always thought that you've had paid actors falling on the floor, being really dramatic. I go, who is this guy with his little frohawk making people fall? And I seen, by then I was a believer, obviously.
You were skeptical of the prophetic.
100%. It just, come on. And this coming that came from a big church, and I seen behind the curtain type of deal already. So I was, we'll get to the church in a little bit, but going back to the story, I go, well, go to my niece's room and let him pray over you. Nah, I'm good, bro. This guy's a beer in his hand. I'm good, bro. The whole macho image thing, And there was about 20-something people in the living room at this time.
Actually, I am not kidding. Before he even came, I think I've already paid for 3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
We did your podcast on the Rocky Nash Show.
Yes.
And a friend of yours came, and her mom had back pain, and God healed her.
Yes.
And that day, she got up out of her wheelchair, and she came and prayed for her knee, and she had victory for a while. And then it seemed like she kind of had some regression. She heard it again, she said. But yeah, that was an incredible moment where God just showed up. I still remember there was a LA Dodgers game playing in the background, and God still moved.
Yeah, so you started praying over this dude, and And if you see a prophet praying over somebody, you're kind of, even if you're not a Christian, you want to see what this is about, And this guy's not going to fake it. He's not, started praying over this guy.
Your buddy's going to be real 100%. And if I'm missing it.
If anything, he's going to fight it to prove you wrong and he's not going to start praying over him. This guy, good thing he was sitting down because he would have fouled. He even said, I would have fouled if I wasn't sitting down. He was like, like a baby cry, you just can't talk. Like, he was being he was crying so badly, and you told him things about his health that only he knew. He never told anybody about it. He's been going to doctors for this reason, and the way you explained it to him, he was like, how like, you reading my mail? Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I still remember. I don't know if you remember this. I said, man, I gotta hit your heart kind of hard. And remember, I told him, I said, I gotta move your neck because he had big chains on.
Yeah.
And I said, I gotta just do this. And I pulled his necklaces to the side, and as I prayed, I am not kidding. I would never do this unless I knew God told me, because this guy is, like you said, he's affiliated. Yeah. He's a big dude.
He's not trying to cry in front of 20 people in a living room with a beer in his hand.
Yeah. And matter of fact, afterwards, he told us the reason he didn't want to go into the room by himself was so that he wouldn't.
Yes.
So he had this.
He didn't want to be vulnerable by himself because he could have, he goes, if I'm in front of people, for sure I'm not going to break down and cry. There's no way I'll let that happen. And there you go.
Yeah. So when I took his necklaces to the side, I remember picking up my hand and saying, Father, heal his heart. And boom, I slammed it down, and you kind of hear a little echo go.
Yeah.
And then right then, I remember his whole body just kind of coming forward and him weeping.
Yeah. It was definitely a sight to see. And I mean, you've done it so many times to a lot of my friends, and and for sure, I was never into. You see people on TV like that guy with this jacket, and people just falling. I go, get out of here! So weird.
You know what's crazy? I remember you invited me on to the Rocky Nash podcast.
Amazing podcast, guys.
Absolutely.
Some say it's the best podcast out there.
100%.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it, but I remember you invited me the very first time, and so you called some friends. Yeah. Some family members maybe, and you're like, hey, this guy's going to be here. We're going to have a conversation. After the conversation, if you want prayer. I remember the podcast was, I don't want to say awkward when I did it, but it was, what happened is I would pray and prophesy over people live, and then you would try and get their reaction. And you remember what happened? Nobody could really do nothing because they were all weeping. Yeah. And so it's kind of like, you're like, dang, Rob, this has a lot of dead space.
Yeah. So that was my first kind of encounter with Prophet Rob, I'll say 3 years ago. And then I'll be a year coming up where he married me, my lovely wife, that I was against that. Not against the marriage. I want the marriage to go, but things happen. Well, that's a whole different story. And he's like, no, like, that's the one for you. I go, no, it's not. Like, let me go be a player. Like let me go do my thing. Hey, and you're just kind of blocking a little bit, Rob. Sorry, you can't say that here, but.
But do you remember when you went to this, you were going through a hard time, you left, you were frustrated, and I remember calling you just out of the blue, and you're like, Prophet Rob, why are you calling me?
You've done that so many times, and I never told you, but I do tell my wife, Dahlia, now, I go, dude, I was literally thinking of this and having this moment in my car, and Prophet Rob called. I go, dude, what's going on? And he's all, are you doing okay? I go, like, what the hell,
I'm fine.
Fine, Prophet Rob.
I remember one time you were frustrated with her, so you were heading out of town, or you weren't heading, you were heading back. Yeah. And I told you, you know what you need to do? You need to pull over and go play golf.
I remember that.
And you're like, I don't want to play golf.
We were in Bakersfield, California, and we just got in this horrific argument. And at this time, I kind of remember it was something, I feel like it was a small argument because I didn't think about it now. And I'm
can't even remember it.
Road rage out of this is it. And you go, don't go kill time, go golf. There's golf courses over there. I always carry my golf clubs with me because that's what professional golfers do. And I went golfing, and then going back to our house, and it ended working out that day. But I was very frustrated. I have a temper somewhat.
Not you.
Yes, I do.
I can't believe.
Believe it or not, I could get angry sometimes.
A little?
A little bit.
Well, or do you like drama? I think you like a little bit of drama more than anger.
I feel it's weird that you say that, because when everything's going cool and collected in my life and everything's going the way it's supposed to be, I get anxiety. Like, is that weird? Like everything's going too good. Like, and it'll give me like somewhat anxiety. I hate using the word anxiety because I think that's a word that's getting thrown around too often these days. And somebody that had really, really bad anxiety that's been in the ER multiple times because I think I'm having a heart attack, and a lot of that, I think, and if we go back to my story, like chemical imbalance for so many drugs, and I think I had a really bad anxiety. Like, I'm talking about so bad where I don't even know if this is a real word or not. It was just. And so people use, I have anxiety. I go, really have no. I mean, I get it. There's levels to anxiety, but that word is thrown around every time. Anxiety and depressed. Anxiety, you're not depressed. You had a bad day. You don't have anxiety. You're a little bit nervous. Like, stop using those for everything and every excuse. Sorry, guys. I'm just gonna go on a rant. Like, and that's what it is, you know.
That's what the Rocky Nash show.
I just rant. It's my personal journal where I just ranting and letting my feelings out.
Well, tell me a little bit. I've known you for 3 years.
Yes. Lucky you.
I am blessed.
Yes.
Actually, you know, I think our relationship is pretty unique.
Yes.
You know, we don't have to talk every day, but when we talk, we pick up right where we left off. There's no gaps. There's no separation.
Yeah.
It's just we connect, we laugh, you know, and most of all, I enjoy playing golf with you and just fellowshipping, hanging out. Because for me, you're outside of my spectrum of what most people would consider my norm.
That's what I say too. Like, and I get it when you're around a pastor or around a prophet, you know, you want to tuck your shirt in and, you know, your best behavior. And I think Prophet Rob doesn't want that who wants that all the time? Like, I want to be a dude sometimes.
Absolutely.
I want to be a dude, golf and shoot. That's
Absolutely.
Locker room talk. Like, a lot of guys don't do locker room talk with you. Like, and all they do is throwing your problems. Hey, Prophet Rob, what are my lottery ticket numbers, you think? Or, like, you think this girl's the right one for me, Prophet Rob?
I remember one time, what you're saying is 100% true.
Yeah.
I went golfing with a pastor friend. We're on vacation. And so he's at his resort, I'm at mine, but we got together in Cabo San Lucas, and we were driving around, and he's kind of doing what you said, talking with me. And he said, how are you doing? And I'm doing great because I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
I don't have ministry on my mind.
Yeah.
I don't have worry. I'm there with my family. I'm fellowshipping with a friend. And so he's like, we're playing, and we got to about the third hole, and we're in the golf cart, like you and I have done. Yeah. And this guy is a tall dude, you know, very big. He's strong in his personality, kind of like you, except he's like 6 foot plus. Anyways,
same thing, Prophet Rob.
Right. He turns and he goes, when are you going to ask about me? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, when are you going to ask how I'm feeling? He was frustrated. So he was simply there to play golf with me to vent. And I was like, I'm not here to vent. I'm not here to, I'm here
That's
to play.
what I mean. Like, come on, this is golf.
That's it. Yeah. That's what I love, you know. And I like playing with your brother, you know. I like playing with you, a couple other pastor friends, you know. But the truth is, I'm not there to counsel. Yeah. I'm just there to hang out. And that's what I really believe, that hanging out with you, you bring out probably a little more rebel side of me.
Yeah.
You know. And you always make fun of me anyways in certain areas. And
I'll get mad at Prophet Rob too. I don't carry the prophet like, hey, bro, you're cheating in golf. Like, stop. Like, I'll call you out. And let me tell you this, guys. The bigger the Christian, the bigger they cheat in golf. That's a fact. Not you.
Okay, honestly, if I move a ball, I'll ask you. Yes. And we have that kind of
No, he's an honest guy, but I'm not throwing anybody's name out there, but I golf with some pretty big celebrity golfers before that are Christian.
And they're like, their scores are like, I'm a 84.
Yes.
You're like, with a kick, with a move.
Yes.
And
with a breakfast ball and a mulligan. Yes, that's the whole thing.
He's like, a lunch ball, a late afternoon lunch ball. Yeah, I get it. So anyways, going back, you know, we were talking a little bit about the thing that took place at your house. Not only did it happen during your wedding, it happened at a birthday party.
Everywhere you go. I feel bad for you.
And you know what? But you know what I love is your podcast. opens up a variety of people that I would never meet,
A lot of
never
walks of
touch,
life.
walks of life. And you know what? I've
Or
come to
sometimes they
realize.
can't even walk, like the girl you pray for. So sometimes non-walk of life.
There you go. But you know what I love is the fruit that comes out of it.
Yeah.
I can honestly say that we have seen some tremendous miracles.
Absolutely.
You know, I remember there was a time where you, after we did your podcast, you gave my number. And you're one of the only guys that gets away with giving my number to random.
I write in the bathrooms for...
You give my number to randoms, and you're like, hey, Prophet Rob, I gave this guy your number. I gave this girl your number.
Right.
I gave a family
Instead
member
of
your
good
number.
time, I go for a God time, dial this number.
But there was a family member that called, and they had a little girl that was unable to speak.
Mute?
Yeah, she was unable to speak.
Absolutely, yeah.
She was autistic and verbally non-communicative. You remember what happened?
I don't, but I know she talks now, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So after your podcast, your cousin, I believe it was.
My cousin Stephanie.
Yeah, Stephanie.
Her whole family is just, talk about a 180. It's their family is just, they're the best they've ever been doing. She always gives me thanks for the podcast because I did do like a whole season of just like really good Christian podcasts, I would say, somewhat. And by then she met you, and my tia, their whole lifestyle, it changed. It was like literally a miracle what happened in her life.
Yeah, and so that little girl, it was right before Mother's Day, and she was 6 years old. Her name was Jasmine, and she had never talked. And your cousin called and asked if I'd pray for her.
Yeah.
And because she missed coming to my service, and I was driving home from LA. I was getting ready to hit the 5, and from like the 101, and on my way home, and I remember calling her and praying for her daughter just over the phone while I was driving. And within moments, she opened her mouth. Do you remember the first words she said?
I don't.
I can't believe you forgot this. My goodness.
Was it Rocky Nash podcast?
No. She said, Mama, I love you.
That's what it was, yes.
And that was the first time she ever heard her voice. She could make, she could make small words but never used a phrase or a sentence. And now she's fully talking.
Yeah.
And that's all the fruit that came out of the podcast.
Yeah, definitely on that season, did it for a few months. A lot of fruit came out of that season.
Yeah. Well, I believe, Rock, that you probably make a bigger Christian impact than you believe, per se, because you have so many friends that we'll just say are on the crazier side journey of life. And most people don't even realize that you have a story.
You know, the only problem with going that direction, obviously I'm not a pastor or a prophet or any of that, any label, I would say. I'm just somebody that loves God, and I see God work through me. But what I get from doing things and topics like that, your biggest critics are other Christians, and it's sad. The Christian culture I hate saying it, and I'm gonna say it's sad. It's a bunch of Karens pointing at each other, or your church is that, your pastor's that. And, I could be a Karen though too. And that's why I keep church hopping, but I get it. But when you do a podcast and, and that's your genre and you're doing something like that, it's kind of, it's like walking an eggshell somewhat, because now like, you can't get anything. I feel like you can't get anything wrong. You better say that scripture right, or hope you read that scripture right, because that's not what it really means. So it's definitely that's the only thing that keeps me from going all the way with that. It sounds weird and something, but it is what it is,
Well, would it be safe to say you have kind of a strong opinion? Very
biased, and like I'm always right.
Always?
So I'm the type where, when I do go to a church, and I'm obviously I'm a hypocrite for one thing, because I'm Christian, so we're hypocrites. But
not everyone.
But I mean, just human nature. So when I'm hearing this pastor talk, like I go, oh God, this guy doesn't even know what he's talking about. Like what Bible are you reading, bro? So that's me, and I go into everything with a really, really negative attitude almost, where like I I dislike you before I like you, if I'm being honest. Like, and after I go, hey, that person's actually kind of cool. But when I first
So
meet
you didn't like me before you met me?
I didn't believe anything that came out of your mouth when I first met you. I'll be honest. Like, who is this guy on stage making people falling and then walks over them and puts a blanket on them?
I didn't put the blanket on nobody.
I ain't nobody. You know, they put the blanket on you because you're asleep or you can't move. So I was like,
well, you've had some friends that have had some encounters and
Yeah.
experiences. You're talking about the guy that was.
No, that's why I know like it's a real deal. Like I would love to do a whole episode and see how fake you are, but that's not the case. I
Matter of
seen
fact,
it.
the first time we did the podcast, you're
Yeah.
like, I would really like to talk about the negative side and how he's a
Oh,
fake
love
and a
the
phony.
negative, yeah.
And you're like, because it would probably draw way more numbers.
Oh, of course.
You know, and you would be on the forefront, exposed. And then you're like, and then you're like,
preachers
dang
with
it.
sneakers. Yeah, I get it.
And then you're like, dang it, he's real.
Yeah, unfortunately. No, it's wrong.
That's jacked up.
No, he's real. He's a real deal, guys. I definitely wouldn't be here doing this if he wasn't the real deal.
I'll tell you what, you talked about something, you just kind of hinted earlier, and you said behind the veil. Tell me a little bit about what do you mean behind the veil?
Well, you know, I went to a really, probably one of the most well-known churches there is where I got baptized and saved, and I always appreciate the pastors and the fellowship that I got there, the open arms that they gave me. I went to Hillsong. Everybody knows Hillsong. You see documentaries about Hillsong. And for example, and this is not bashing everybody's, I just gotta, and the walk of, and the walk you're doing as far as Christian walk, you're gonna be disappointed whether you like it or not. It is what it is. As far as church-wise, not God-wise, but church-wise, because church-wise is who runs church. Like human beings run churches, and you know, I remember the first time, you know, I got close to the pastors and just people that run the church, and I got invited to a birthday dinner at this restaurant in Hollywood. I go, cool. So, you think you're going to go there, you tuck your shirt in and, I'm going to get a water with a lime or whatever it is. I'm not drinking today. I'm with Christians, So I go there and people were ordering drinks, ordering shots. And I wasn't disappointed. I was somewhat at that moment relieved because I wanted to get a beer. And I got a beer and let's go to after hours. Let's go to there's a club over here on top of the building. Let's go to this club. And, not that they were inappropriate or they're just getting drunk. That was not the case. They weren't all sloppy and drunk, so don't picture that going on. They're just having drinks. But I was somewhat, like, I could do this with my regular friends. Like, I have regular friends that I could go have a beer with and take shots with and have these conversations with. So when I went into the church, being like an elementary Christian, I would say.
So you're basically saying, I'm looking for something different.
It's not that I was looking for something different, but I anticipated something different. And that's the word. And when I seen that, like I said, I was somewhat relieved. I go, okay, like, I'm not that bad of a guy after all. Because if my pastor is doing this or, this guy on the stage is doing this, like, I guess I'm not that bad of a dude after all. And they didn't set the bar high enough. And that's the thing. And I think if you're a pastor or if you're a prophet or if you're involved in a church, I'm sorry to say, I know you're human, you're in the flesh, and we're all gonna fall short. But you need to set the bar a little bit higher for us people. Because I was like, at that point, I was like, I don't even need to really change my lifestyle so much. Like, this guy's leading in one of the biggest churches in the world. Like, what do I need to change? And that's what and like I said, they're amazing people. I can text them right now. This is not bashing anybody, but this is my story of how I felt when I seen that.
So would you say personally that it kind of kept you arm's length away from really being able to say, I want change and transformation?
It didn't. No, it kept me just at a dead end, like a moment. Like I don't gotta do anything different. I'm fine. As long as I worship and read the Bible, I could still, get this drink. I could still have this conversation. I don't really need to change so much after all. I thought I had to do a whole 180 lifestyle change, but I guess I don't.
Yeah. That kind of, for me, because I know who I am, I'm not perfect, but I do try and live a life that holds a standard.
Yeah.
I do want to help people change and transform.
Yeah.
I know that there's many people that like to preach, come as you are, but the truth is, if you're coming to the house of God, it's not so you could come to stay who you are, it's so you can transform and become more.
Yeah.
And
that's the second time I heard that this week. That's confirmation.
There you go.
Come as you are, but don't leave the same.
Yeah, and I've learned, because I've known you these 3 years, it's kind of funny, not funny, let me rephrase that, which probably most people wouldn't realize is you're a worshiper.
I can't sing, but I can worship with the best of them, I say. And that's my thing. We
like to say it like this. You have God in your heart, devil in your throat.
I guess so, dude. But I feel bad for my wife because I'm all singing all loud next to her, poor thing. But,
throwing her off key.
But I do love the worship, and I just feel like
So are you rhythmic?
I have a good rhythm. Like my brother, he's off beat when he claps. I can't be next to him because
I have a brother.
Yeah.
Who will throw the whole worship team off if they watch him.
Yeah.
And then I have a sister. I have a sister. God bless her heart. She could pray, cast the devil out of you. She could do all kinds of great things, but you don't want to sing next to her because you will miss a note.
Yes, so.
You will miss a note. And so for me, thank God, Juanita is musically gifted, and so it helps. But go ahead, tell me.
But the worship, I think that's a good, for me, it's a good invitation to get the Holy Spirit in the church. I think a good worship, just a really good starting point for getting the energy there, getting a good vibe. So, I just love worship. If it's a good worship, it just puts me in the right mood to listen to the speaker, the pastor, and it's definitely a good starting point.
Sets you up.
It does.
So tell me a little bit about where did everything come to a head and began to change? What was something maybe that you experienced that began to just...
I don't have like a big moment where like I need to change. Like, I know a lot of people, they do promises with God because they're in this horrific situation, or they're at the doctors, they get a doctor's note for something, or they're in jail or court or something. They make these promises, and that's our breaking point. And I never had that. I've been even in the lifestyle I grew up with, and it was evil, but I always feel like I always had a blessed life. Like my parents are amazing, my family's amazing. I did silly things because I was just dumb. And I don't have that story where like I grew up really poor, and I don't have that testimony. And thank God, my testimony is to say like I didn't grow up that way. We weren't rich, far from rich, but I think God worked on me gradually, little by little by little, as He will to the day I die. And I used to go to this church in high school in Ballin Park. It's called Church of Redeemer. And my nana used to go to that church. And once in a great while, my mom would take me, my brothers, my sister, my dad. We'll go there like once every 2 months. Anytime we go to that city and visit, we'll meet at my church. And that was the first time I started going to a Christian church. Because usually we're that typical family that went to a Catholic church on Easter or, 12 o'clock mass or one of those where I never knew what the hell these people, no offense, but I don't know when to get up, when to sit down. I don't know when to light a candle or when to do, I don't even know how to do this. I don't know any of that.
And I know, I know why you did that. Because I was just about, because one of the things probably with the Catholic Mass is that they drink out of the same Seder, they drink out of the same cup. And so I was going to reach for this and
then they all drink out of the same cup. Like, I'm not drinking out of that cup.
So if I was to take a drink, he'd go nuts.
See that guy's mouth? Like, what the heck? I'm not drinking out of that cup. So no disrespect to Catholics, but it wasn't my cup of wine.
I'll tell you what, I have some Catholic experiences that are absolutely mind-boggling. Yeah. I don't know why, but, I became what we called a CEO Christian, which meant Christmas, Easter only.
I like that.
So those were the only times, as long as I went to church on those days, I was
think
good.
growing up Hispanic, a lot of us do that.
But my dad, you know, he got born again. He was saved, Pentecostal Catholic. And so he was the worship leader at this church, and he would lead worship at a Spanish service. Crazy thing is I don't speak a lick of Spanish, but we would have to go to Spanish Mass at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I don't know why, but Hispanic culture is like everybody, they say it takes a tribe to raise a family. This one lady was so mean. She used to pinch me and my sister if we would fall asleep. Of course I'm gonna fall asleep. I'm 11 years old, 10 years old in Catholic Mass, and I don't understand Spanish.
With you. And I don't know why they preach talks like, why do you talk like this? I don't know what you say. Like, what? Talk normal. No disrespect to Catholics, but I'm just saying, like, it just, for a little kid, you're listening to him, like, what?
So this lady, you know what she did? When I remember one time I was bored out of my mind, and I start falling asleep, and she thought it was her personal right to discipline me. And that lady reached across, and you know when they pinch you, remember you ever get pinched inside of your arm?
I still do.
By who?
My wife.
What?
Yeah, she pinches me.
Borderline abuse.
So
I think we need to counsel.
You hear that, babe? Yeah, but like I said, man, to each his own. Like I don't like picking on Dominions or their thing. I really don't. I'm just making jokes of it.
I hear you. Check this out. Speaking of making a joke, because that lady did that to me a couple times.
Yeah.
I grew angry. And I remember one time I came up with a plan. You'd be proud of me because, I'm pretty respectable. I'm nice, But I guess she got under me and got to the wrong side of me. And she sat in the front row. So this time I sat in the second row. I'm like, yeah, see how you pinched me this time. And so when they did, Catholics kneel down, stand up, sit down.
Yeah.
So they came to a place where they were kneeling. They were kneeling down. And this lady's chanclas came off, her sandals. And for some reason, I thought it would be a great idea to steal them. I took her shoes that were kicked off, and I walked to the back of the Mass to, where they light all the candles?
Yeah.
Well.
Fire hazard.
Fire hazard. So I took her sandals, I kid you not, with joy in my heart. I went and I opened, you know how they have the little cabinets where they hold everything? I opened it up, and I put them in there and shut the door. Went to the bathroom and waited for service to be done. Of course, I got home. She snitched me out. My dad gave me a whooping. But you know what? It was worth it. It was absolutely worth it.
You little thug.
That's one of my thug stories.
Your thug life. Oh, man.
So speaking of thug life, man, tell me something crazy that I don't know. Tell me one thing that I don't know
won't put me in jail. I mean, you know what? I'm the youngest brother out of three, so I have two older brothers. They were all like 1 year apart. So, I mean, a lot of people won't admit this, but growing up in the 90s, as far as being in high school and junior high in the 90s, gang culture was at its highest. I mean, gangster music was, Tupac and NWA. It was the music that we listened to. It was in style. It was trendy. And being in the gangs was trendy. So I want to be...
How'd you even get into a gang?
Well...
you said your mom and dad, they were great parents.
Well, they moved us to the city we live in Fontana, California. We grew up in Baldwin Park, California, but they moved us out of Baldwin Park so we don't get in gangs. Because Baldwin Park is like a gang-saturated city. And Fontana just way over there. And I don't know. It's weird. My brother got into the gang first, obviously. And, being a little brother, I felt like, well, it's kind of my thing. You look up to your brothers, and they're in a gang. So, I get in the gang because if these people don't like my brothers, well, I don't like those people either then. It's just one of those. And with the gang culture, it's a whole snowball effect at that point. Because when it comes with gang culture, it comes with drugs and comes with a lot of different other things. You open a whole can of worms now. So it wasn't even crystal meth yet. In the 90s, it was called just speed. And it was yellow, pink, brown. It wasn't as beautiful as crystal meth looks these days. Probably the wrong word to use.
Honestly, I have no idea. But, You know, because my story is the opposite.
Yeah, you hit chanclas in the cabinet. And so I started doing that when I was probably like 15 years old, I would think.
So wait. You started that at 15.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
what?
I was a junior in high school the first time I did speed. So I was 15, because I graduated when I was 16. I graduated a year early when I was 16 years old.
I didn't know that. Yeah. How'd that happen?
Being really smart.
Stop it.
No, my mom.
Stop it.
My mom wanted me to go to school with my cousin, and he was a year older than me. So she made up a whole birth certificate and everything. So my whole schooling, I had a fake birthday. And I remember when I was in I think second grade, the teacher she was saying it was because of my birthday. I know what my birthday is, you know, but she had the teacher brought me some cupcakes, and for my birthday, I go, it's not my birthday. Because I don't know my mom is lying to the school district. So.
Can I tell you something real quick?
Yeah.
Don't lose your thought.
Podcast's about me, though, but go ahead.
My wife, her mom did the same thing.
Really? I'm saying.
I thought she was the only one.
Yeah, no, it's a thing now. But now it's opposite, because kids, if you're a kid and you're in high school and you're playing football, like they hold you back. So it's silly. Like, I mean, that's
and
all.
Your mom was pushing you forward.
Yes. So getting the gang culture, you start doing, you know, because I would hang with my brother's friends. I would hang with the older people, and then, you know, at the end of the day, you can't deny it, but you're being a follower and just trying to be in style. It's a lot of things came with it. And I always get disappointed and kind of frustrated and upset when, and we all hear this before, where you see a bad kid doing bad things and, oh God, I wonder who those parents were. And that's not the case all the time. You know, just like being a Christian, oh, look at that guy's a bad Christian, I wonder who their God is. You never say that. Oh God, who's our God? Because that's a terrible Christian. You don't say that. So I think people judge parents too much, because just like God gave us our parents, you know, we have free will. All a good parent could do, it gives a conscience of knowing right from wrong. And that's what God does with us. You know, he'll let you know, the Holy Spirit will tell you right from wrong, and what you do with that is what you do with it. And that's the same thing as far as parenting. God is our parent.
So choices.
Yes, it's what we do with them. But I also have friends that, you know, their mom and dad are from the gang, their aunts and uncles, their cousins, you know. Talk about like family birthdays, the whole gang's there, and they really think that's normal. Like I have friends that go, man, I just want to make it to Pelican Bay. I just want to make it to this prison. I want to go to a 4-yard. And that's literally their goal. And it's sad, because you look at them, you can't really judge them, because that's what they think. Their whole life, they think that's the ultimate goal, to be, you know, this big homie where all the neighborhood knows you. And that's their goal in life.
So making a name for yourself.
They're somewhat brainwashed, and it's not their fault. But for me and my brothers, we knew better. We just didn't do better. And that's the thing.
So we knew better, we just didn't do better.
Absolutely not. I mean, drugs didn't help out either, though. You know, drugs make you some silly things.
So what's an experience that you went through, or maybe as you just think back now, of course, you're only 40.
I'll be 46.
Right.
Yeah.
But you just said you were 40. Mm-hmm. So anyways, here's my thought. The 46-year-old Rocky, looking back at your 15, 18, 20-year-old Rocky.
Yeah.
What is it that you see that's changed so dramatically?
Everything. One thing on my podcast that I talk about is unlearning things. You know, we have to unlearn these things that we think it's normal. It's not normal. Like, I'll give you an example, Prophet. When in high school, when I'll go to like a party with my friends, you know, I have actually some really good friends. I just know a lot of different people. So I know friends outside that I talk to this day in a group chat that are non-gang affiliated. And they'll tell me, hey, Rocky, we went to this party. I go, where's it at? Oh, it's over here. And I go, do I need to take my gun? And they're all, nah, it's cool. You don't need. So like, to ask that question, it's not normal. First of all, it's not even normal to take your gun somewhere. And it was so normal to ask, do I need my gun? Should I take my gun? Or one of those situations. Like now as you get older, if my friend told me, if I asked my friend, hey, I want to go here, and I go, do I need my, like, if I even have to ask that question, like, I'm not going, like, wait, hold on, I got to take my gun over there? Like, why would I even go there in the first place? So you got to take your gun somewhere to protect yourself, you probably shouldn't be there in the first place. And that's one thing, like, I had to learn, like the things you do when you're younger, it just like, I look at the things that we did, just like, it's silly, man. It's dumb. It's so dumb, you know? So that's one thing I could look at back, like, that's just some...
This is nonsense maybe now. As the way you look at it, it's like you've matured to a level where you could sit there and go, man, that was foolish. Foolishness at a high level?
My whole teenage life and even my 20s was foolish. I could say more bad things than good things that I've done on this planet as far as those decades. It was very foolish. It was very, not only foolish, it's selfish. Because, and my brother, he's been in prison, I don't know how many times, but when somebody goes to prison for a long time, like your family, you affect your whole family. It's not just you what you're affecting. And if you get hurt being a gang member or getting shot or you die, I mean, your family has to suffer here on earth, as you passed away for that reason.
Have you created suffering in your family's life as you look back? What's something that...
One thing I've been very, very good at is I kept that away from my family. I think I see what my brother brought to our household and the stress he brought to my parents. The things I've done, it's just something I will never take home or repeat or have the conversation or anything like that. So a lot of times people are like, I didn't even know, like, it was like that. One of the biggest compliments that I had, and they didn't know the compliment, recently I was had a guest on a podcast, and he was talking about gang stuff and whatever. And he goes, I didn't even know you were from a gang. And at first it bugged me. Like, what? Like, kind of bugged me a little bit. But then that's a compliment because I'm not on Instagram supposed to be throwing gang signs with no shirt on. That's not the image. And the thing about social media, it's a fresh start. You could be anybody you want to be. You could fake it or whatever you want. You could pick who you want to be, or not that, but you get to let people see you how you want them to see you. You put out what you want to put out. And I'm glad, like, cool. Like, you didn't, because all you know me is through Instagram. You're not my real friend. You only know me on Instagram. So if you didn't know I'm a gang member through my Instagram, then I'm doing a good job. Because I have a 14-year-old son.
So who is the real Rocky Nash?
He has many masks. I don't know. I know this much. I'm very, very opinionated, strong opinionated. And sometimes I argue just for argument's sake.
Could have been a lawyer.
I would have been an amazing lawyer. And I could pick a side and have a good argument, even though I don't even agree with what I'm saying. Like, it sounds really good. And I know that, and I actually pray about that because I don't want to... It's not a good, peaceful energy when you're always trying to argue with somebody or debate with somebody. It's not the best. Like, I put a lot of podcasts out where I end up deleting them. I go, I don't want to sound angry, so much angry all the time, or just, keep bashing at this lifestyle or this group, and it doesn't bring me peace. And I think a lot of Christians, it goes to gang members that find Jesus, like even Victory Outreach and Calvary's and, these different kind of churches that, they cater to gang members, which is amazing, by the way, But a lot of gang member Christians, they find Jesus, they read the Bible, they know the scriptures, and they change their lifestyle. And that's amazing. But sometimes they don't change their heart. And instead of being angry at your rival gang, now they're taking that energy, that hatred almost, to a Muslim, to Jehovah's Witness, or to the gay community, or whatever it is. And they're just so angry at this girl had abortions, or this this gay couple, and they're just taking that anger they have in them, and that was me. And that was me when I first started going to church. And, then instead of being angry at this rival gang or whatever, I'm just mad at this group or this lifestyle. And there's no peace there. And right now, the way I feel about, certain lifestyles are not so much judging everybody. I have more peace. And they always say, no God, no peace. And I have peace. And people say, well, you can't think that way, Rocky, because that's not a godly way. And I go, well, I feel like if it was Satan telling me to say this, I wouldn't have peace, because Satan is not peace. I have so much peace how I feel right now about certain situations that I go, that has to be God. Like, there's no way. God wants to give you peace.
Religion makes the gospel inclusive, builds up walls. Yeah. And one of the things that dissatisfies me about the church, organized religion, is how certain groups make themselves better or greater than. And so we build the church in the form of, this is an exclusive thing. And then we look at those outside of the church and we recognize their faults, their failures. But Jesus...
We're highlighting their sins all day.
Absolutely. And then exposure, beating people up in that form, cancel culture. But, when I look at the true Christ, one of the things that I come to recognize is that he was inclusive. Jesus went to the highways, the byways, the back streets. He went into the dark places and he shined light. And so he was inclusive, not exclusive.
The Christian is not a private club membership. It's not a country club. It's for, like they said, churches should look more like hospitals for the sick, for people that need it, and not these perfect, these templates of a Christian, what it looks like, all walks of life.
Well, you said it earlier. You said you walked with some big name pastors and leaders, people that were well known, and you were looking for something different, the bar to be raised, and they lowered it, and you're like, man, I'm already there.
Yeah.
And so reality is, we have to begin to live a life that's different. We have to have the fear of God. We have to walk in the purity of God if we want to impact. If you don't want to impact somebody's life, you don't have to.
Yeah.
But it's somebody like yourself, somebody like myself, my greatest desire is to make an impact.
No, at my church I go to right now, they had a really big, I don't need to say his name, but they had this really big Christian YouTuber. Huge. This guy's famous. And we're lucky enough, I guess you want to say, to have him at our church. This guy's a celebrity YouTuber, Christian podcast. And the whole time, he just, a lot of churches, they bully, they want to highlight people that get abortions and homosexuals. And they're just bullying them. Like, bro, there's like over 600 law of Moses that we could go after. But you keep targeting, highlighting these things, and that's an easy sermon, an easy message that you could go over and over, and it's like the same thing over and over and over again. Like, I think our job as a Christian is to get people to the altar and let the Holy Spirit do his job. It's not your job to change somebody. It's the Holy Spirit's job to change somebody. Our job is to get them in the seat, not to scare them away.
You were saying this YouTuber came, and you're talking a little bit earlier to me about his message. And his message picked on a particular culture or group.
Always the same thing. It's not just him, it's everybody. It's the same thing. It's like, okay, bro, like, but how about this pastor that's way overweight, that's abusing food? Is that not a sin? But you don't want to say nothing if you're a healthy pastor, because half of the fellowship they're overweight, and you don't want to, God forbid, hurt their feelings because you don't want to empty the basket. Wait, what about that sin or this sin or adultery? I know churches that they know adultery is going on, affairs are going on, and they get a divorce and they marry that couple that's having adultery, had an affair. What about that? Like, we can nitpick everybody all day, but too many pastors and churches highlight this and bully. It's a bully method almost. I get it, bro. Like, it's a sin. I get it.
Yeah, so you're what you're really talking about is we should be preaching an answer, not a problem.
Preach the gospel.
That's it.
Jesus let Christ. Them live, man. Let them know Jesus. When you introduce them to Jesus, when they know Jesus and they know the Holy Spirit, they're going to change. You're not going to change them by just bashing them all day. You're going to scare them away.
When it comes to prophecy, one of the things that I teach my students, because I have a school of ministry for teaching the prophetic. And one of the things I tell them, remember, we are not to prophesy their darkness. We're to call out light from the darkness. So inside of every man, there's a treasure. And my duty is to highlight the treasure so they come out of darkness. Because when light shines, light disintegrates darkness. And so that's the whole thing, finding what's right. Yeah. And the only way we can do that is if we truly begin to preach Christ, preach his love, and share his forgiveness. We got to become examples.
Yeah, and I get the whole thing. Like, I'll give you an example with Hillsong, which at that time when I was going to Hillsong, I did disagree with their method that they did do. Is, I went to their their Bible study classes, and what they teach, the way they preach, is they never preach sin. Which, at the time I disagreed, and I somewhat still disagree. They go, it's not our job to point out sins. It's our job to get them to the altar. And at that time I go, no, bro, like, you need to start telling people they're going to hell. Like, no, you need to tell them, like, you're wrong, you're all right, you're wrong, and you need to start pointing at fingers and telling this person that they're sinning. And that was in that season of my walk of Christ, like, that was the season I was in where I was kind of like, nah, like, you guys are too, like, lovey-dovey God, and you're not putting any fear in people's heart to fear God. And to be a good Christian, you better fear God. You have to fear God. Just like you need to fear your parents or your dad. I got a bad report card. Oh my God, I'm gonna hear this. You need that same energy. And a lot of times I felt like they're not. A lot of churches, especially these mega churches, are these. I get it. Everybody's welcome as they should be. I get that, but at the same time, like, they need to have fear of God, and they need to know what they're doing is wrong, and because if they don't know it's wrong, how are they going to fix it? How are they going to fix their sin if you're not telling them it's a sin?
Yeah. So the scripture says, "Be holy, for God is holy."
Yeah.
So we got to come to a place where we help people understand their true identity, who they rightfully are as a citizen in the kingdom, and begin to help them mature to another level.
Yes.
So they could really come out of darkness, come out of the sin amongst them or the sinners amongst them, and then become a light to them.
Yeah.
And, I'm thankful for somebody like you who's really not afraid to say it.
Yeah. And I always tell everybody on my podcast, I go, look, what I say is probably ain't right. And I always say, like, sometimes God will put something in if I say something wrong, I feel like God puts in my heart right away. And the next episode I go, okay, maybe I was wrong on that. I just see my feelings. And I'm very good at saying, I was wrong. Like, God checked me and say, yeah, you're tripping. Like, you said it all wrong, buddy. So I'm very good at that. But all I could do is say how I feel at this moment, at this time. Maybe next year I'll be doing a whole different thing and I'll be bashing everybody lifestyles. I don't know. But right now, I do feel like I have a lot of peace right now. And that's what I want. I mean, I lived a lifestyle where, a stressful lifestyle. I mean, think about it. Like, you don't know any better, but where I grew up, it's a little area where going to the store, you watch over your back because and you get so used to that. You get so used to even getting shot at. If that, like, I remember one time my brother came home and he was just got shot at, shot these fools. Like, oh, cool. Like really nothing. Like, and that was such a norm at that point. Got in a shootout, or I got shot at, or it was so normal to hear that.
Have you ever been shot or shot at?
Multiple times.
Have you been shot?
No. Thank God.
Because I have, so.
Good thing I was small, huh? Small target.
Explain this. What is it like when guns are being fired at? In my mind, I can't kind of comprehend it with reality. What's the adrenaline? What's the emotion? What the heck are you thinking?
I mean,
in that moment, are you praying?
No, I mean every time you get like the time I got shot at, it wasn't like planned, so it kind of just happens right away, and it's kind of there's no really react. It's hard to explain it. I don't know. I mean, it's always scary getting shot at. I mean, one time I thought I was hit, and it's a funny story, or I don't want to say too much, but
tell me a little bit.
I'll tell you.
Don't leave me hanging.
No, I'll tell you a little bit, but not so much. But one of my friends, well, I guess, while he was shooting at somebody, I was right next to him, and they're shooting back at us. And one of my friends, the bullet shell hit my face, and I thought, "Oh, I'm hit!" Like, it was so stupid. I thought it was. He's like, "Go to the hospital." So we're going to the hospital. I go, "No," like it was just a shower that got me. But it was funny. I mean, it's funny now, but in fact, when you're 15, 16, I think I was like 15, 16 at that time when that happened. I don't remember. But
my God.
all that was so normal, like, Prophet. It's hard, but now, like, if I got shot at now, I wouldn't even know what to do. I would be like a little girl, probably, like, "Oh my God,"
I just can't imagine hearing bullets whiz by my head or what it sounds like, the adrenaline. I mean, the chaos in that instant must be insane.
Yeah, it's definitely an adrenaline rush, like, especially after, like, oh wow, like,
Did it feel cool afterwards, or did you stop? And at 15, you probably didn't.
Unfortunately, when you get in a shootout or you get shot at, it's just a little like stripe on your sleeve type of deal where we glorify those things, and it's kind of like, oh, cool, like, hey, bro, I got shot at, or you shot. It's kind of like those are those things that you get patted in the back for.
Yeah, see that.
It don't make sense to me anymore. It's
that I can't even comprehend.
Yeah.
At any time in my life, for me, that's never been my world. But God has put me amongst people where that's part of the culture. Speaking of, you talked a little bit about it earlier. At 15, you took your first speedball, I guess. You had your first speed. You were 15 years old.
Uh-huh.
Was that your gateway into other things?
Yeah.
And I know that you had an encounter, an experience that you probably don't share much.
Yeah, so I was doing speed here and there, and obviously marijuana was just weed, but that led me to smokes in my neighborhood. We were really big on angel dust and sherm. That was our poison, and I have a lot of friends that lost their life on angel dust.
Matter of fact, quick pause. I have a story. And honestly, I think this is why I never did drugs. I have an older brother. He's a pastor now.
Mm-hmm.
He had a friend. His name was Boo Boo. His real name, Raul. He was in the probably early 80s. And this guy came over. My brother had been fighting a cold. He took NyQuil. And this dude rolls up to our house. I never liked him. I didn't understand I was prophetic then. Yeah. And something in me didn't care for this dude. And he came and he gave my brother angel dust. Oh, wow. My brother had just took NyQuil and he mixed it with that stuff. And then my dad was out at a meeting to receive 25-year plaque for working as a sanitary control officer, garbage man. He was being rewarded for 25 years of service. Big day for my dad in that sense, for longevity in his career. So he went to go to his company dinner. He came home early because my mom forgot the tickets. And so they just grabbed a burger. And so he's home. He went to bed. And my middle brother, I'm the youngest of 7. So my middle brother, he had his buddy spend the night. And what ended up happening is my brother that took the angel dust began to freak out.
Yeah, I mean, even without the NyQuil, angel dust is a different thing, dude. Like, it's a different animal.
He went crazy.
Of course.
He ended up chasing my brother's friend who was spending the night, chased him through 2 doors. Yeah. They slammed the door on one. He punched a hole in it.
Oh, you're Superman.
He ran out the front door, broke our lock, and he ran home. He lived like a mile and a half away, and he was staying the night.
You use superpowers, bro.
And my brother, I'll never forget this, punched a hole through the window of our front door. And when he pulled out his arm, he starts screaming, "The devil's in me, the devil's in me," because he's bleeding.
A lot of people do see the devil when they're on PCP.
And I kid you not, when I saw that, I was just probably 9 years old, 8 years old. I remember saying to myself, I'll never do drugs. And I think I got scared straight. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I never sampled, messed with.
I know. I mean, you're unsure, man. Like, your friends can't, like, you could fight everybody. They can't take you down. You have human strength. It just, but unfortunately, a lot of people, they can't get right after that.
So it led you down a darker path?
Well, I was smoked angel dust and sherm, but not like all the time. It was just once in a while. It wasn't my really cup of tea. It really wasn't. Like, it was, I used to like to enjoy the way, speed would make me feel, energized, picture me on speed, guys. I think right now, like, Jesus, can't handle Celsius. But it just, I enjoyed it. I liked it. I always did it like low pro, like my founding, my mom, like, they didn't know I was on it, I never, like I said, I never like to bring things home like that. But I was at the point where I was just doing it all the time. And by then, in my 20s, early 20s, it was crystal meth by then. And I was just smoking it. Because back when speed, you just kind of sniff it. You get your ugly drops. God forbid, a drops taste nasty. But you start smoking it. And I was smoking out of a glass bong for meth, which is not even unheard of. And I remember kind of OD'd on it somewhat, where I remember...
So you kind of, or you did?
Well, I did. So I was in back of the ambulance. I remember that part. And my mom, my grandma, they were there. And they probably didn't even know I did meth. I kept it secret so long, where I was back in the ambulance, and I thought that was kind of it, a little bit. And then...
So in your mind, are you thinking you're dying?
Yeah, absolutely. And, obviously you pray in your head and, God, please help. And it was fine. But I remember after that is when...
So did you see any lights?
Besides the ambulance lights, no.
I didn't know, maybe darkness,
no,
light.
I wasn't like unconscious or anything like that. And that wasn't the bad part. The bad part after that was the next years following that. It was to say anxiety is an understatement, I want to say. It was just, I didn't like going in public because I felt like, I'm having a heart attack. And you get these anxiety attacks, like a real, real bad anxiety attack, where I had to go to the ER multiple times. My friend had to take me, I took myself, and I'm just at the ER multiple times thinking, this guy's having another panic attack, and there's nothing they could do. And they gave me some oxy or whatever. I go, I don't want to take this, man, So I didn't take any pills. But it got so bad where it started playing like tricks with my mind, where I started seeing a lot of things, and I couldn't sleep. And my brother Johnny was my roommate at that time, and he was a witness of me just waking up screaming a lot.
So right there, what were you seeing? Because people...
I was seeing demons all the time. It's not exaggeration. When I slept, I see demons. I'll wake up screaming all the time. Sometimes I'll wake up by the front door, like, how did I get here? And Johnny, like, you just ran out of the room. And it was just like, it was really bad, where I did have like a mental meltdown. And not that I wanted to kill myself, because I think a lot of people say that too many times, where, suicide watch. People use the vulnerable stories for social media, but I would never say I was at a point where I wanted to kill myself. But it did cross my mind, where I would tell myself, man, like, I don't want to live like this my whole life. I don't want to keep seeing demons when I go to sleep, or I don't want to keep waking up screaming. And I don't want to be having, like, I'll be at a party or at somebody's house or anywhere in public, nobody knew, because it was back then, like in the late 90s or 2000s, like, anxiety wasn't blasted everywhere. It wasn't even really a word. And I would just go to the bathroom, nobody knew, throw water all over my face, like, oh my God, and just pray in the bathroom, like, God, I don't want to die right now. Like, and it was just like it was such intense, where I did tell myself, do I want to do this my whole life? And I finally told my mom, and I said this story one time on a podcast, and My mom never knew, and she kind of cried. Where it's even hard to say. Where I told her like,
This part's going to help so many people, man.
yeah, I kind of told her like, I don't know if I want to live. I'm going through these things. Yeah, and then she was all, well, she didn't know if I was serious or not. So, I'm gonna take you to a mental hospital then, kind of like threatening me a little bit. And I told the story and she didn't know like that I went through so much, you know? And like she apologized, but it was still tough, bro. It was like a rough, like 5 years, if not more. Like it was just like really bad anxiety and I just couldn't sleep. It was just so bad. And a lot of it is like, I believe now because I did my research, like it's like we do so many drugs, chemically imbalance. Like your mind's not all the way there. And it took me a long time. And I even asked my brother, because at this time he was going to church a lot. And he used to always preach to me. Like, I don't want to hear that, dude. And I asked him, like, hey, is it real? Like, is church real? Is God real? Like, he's like, yeah, bro, it is. And even then I didn't go to church. And
It's curiosity. You're already starting to search inwardly for it.
there had to be something out there, you know, besides this kind of lifestyle. There has to be.
You know, you're talking something very key. You know, the first words that came out of your mom's mouth were, I'm going to take you to an institution.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is, as parents, we always want to put our kids in the hands of somebody else, you know, but I don't think that probably brought any comfort to you. It probably freaked you out more.
It's kind of like even just being a guy and you try to be macho or, you know, like I said, I never like bring problems to my house and I don't want to let my parents know the lifestyle I was doing or drugs I was doing. And
they're probably blown away because you must have kept it really hidden if they had no idea.
100%. I was very good at it. Only people I know even my brothers, my brother didn't know what I was doing because I have my own homies from the neighborhood that I've done things with that he has no idea what I've done or what I do. And that's like something I don't brag about. Like, I'm not going to brag about I really don't glorify that lifestyle. It's not. And
that's what I love about you.
Yeah.
You've chosen on your podcast and on your journey now with life is to glorify Christ, speak good news, speak hope, and help people out.
Yeah.
You know?
And so, like, when you finally said, like, I can't do this by myself, I need help. And then, like, I guess that was an answer I was looking for.
And you were about how old?
I was probably about 22, 21 around this time, I would imagine. And like I've been drug free for over 20-something years, dude. Like I'm not one of those person that counts days or anything like that. It's been back at ambulance scared me straight. You only gotta tell me one time. Like I love my life too much that like I'm not gonna be back at ambulance ever again. So it took me a long time. And I'm always gonna have anxiety, but not to that magnitude. But I know how to work through it. I know how to pray through it. I know it's not gonna kill me. You know, I'm fine. Like everybody has anxiety, and that's why I say, man, like you don't know what anxiety really. I mean, I get there's levels, man, but there's a level where no, man, it's what's up there.
So you're talking about you saw demonic spirits.
I did.
Can you kind of describe, because I guarantee you there's people that are listening that are seeing it. Maybe they didn't do drugs, but they're experiencing it.
I believe when you live that lifestyle and you do evil things and you're doing drugs, I mean, you're just opening the door for demons. You're inviting the devil into your life. And I really believe that. And Ouija board was something me and my brothers played all day, all the time. Like, we played that, I mean, like nothing. We'll play Ouija board. We'll do like, when we were young, we did like some witchcraft stuff. We're into some weird stuff.
What was the one that they used to have people look in the mirror and say something?
That was Sandman, right? Candyman or something like that. But we done that too.
So you were just opening the door to different things.
Yeah.
Not even knowing, thinking it was cool maybe?
Curious, I would say, curious. And the Ouija board is kind of fun, but
No,
even
it ain't. That's
oh, I know. Well, yeah. Now, so just a lot of things that you know, a lot of things that we do, or we even on social
you do
media.
or you did?
We did, but I'm
There
saying
you go.
people do.
Oh yeah.
That you're inviting Satan into your life. Even so many people are into, you know, those tarot cards and psychic readings. I mean, you're just inviting whoever you want. It's an open house on you, and it's scary to mess with the spiritual world. Dude. Like it's nothing to play with. And I could tell you, and you know one thing about Hillsong, I was this is way after, by the way, but for some reason at this time I couldn't sleep. Where if I sleep, I always go like kind of like I just had like a panic attack. Every time I went to bed, I had this panic attack. I don't know. I just couldn't figure it out. So it was at the point where I didn't want to sleep. Like I'm gonna wake up like you know, some weird.
That's years later.
This is years later, and no drug free. I don't know what it was, and then to this day I don't know what that is.
I'll tell you what I think it is.
So I went to Hillsong, and when I go to Hillsong, I will always go alone, you know. And I went, and they had a special speaker from Australia come down. That's where Hillsong's, you know, originated in Australia. And the speaker comes, don't know this dude, just sitting there, and did a great message. I don't remember what it was, but at the end of the message, he goes, and it isn't before I even know about prophesizing and all that, you know. He goes, oh, there's somebody here, because I've been praying, go, God, like, I can't take this. Like, take this away from me. Like, I don't even like going to bed. And he goes, there's somebody here right now that's scared to go to sleep, and they wake up with panic attacks. And I want to let you know that God's hearing your prayers right now. It's going to be good. Like, you know, he did it. I was like, what? Like, that's for me. And I never heard like a prophesize like that word. And I was like, what? Like, how does he know? And
It has a word of knowledge.
it was amazing. And I never really had that sense. And it was just like really like, I thought, man, this is some real stuff right here. And it was neat to see. It was cool to see how, because I know that was for me. Like, who else he's talking to? Like he's talking to me for sure. And it was just weird how that happened, because that was literally what I've been praying for, you know?
It's a word of knowledge that God dropped into the minister's spirit to let God, to convey God's message, to let you know God's heard your prayer. Because maybe you weren't hearing it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
He was just conveying the freedom of the Lord. The Bible says, whom the Son sets free is free indeed. And, you know, it's so amazing to see this journey, because I think there's so many people that are having encounters with demonic powers, entities, paralysis.
I feel like the devil's like is winning America right now, unfortunately. I mean, like I've been going it'll be 30 days next week where I'm doing no Instagram and no sugar. You know, that was my thing, where I wanna like sacrifice to God. Like, thank you, and I want like a blessing though too. You know, not that he needs to do it, but you know, I believe
So
like
it's basically your New Year's consecration. Some people do the Daniel fast for 30
yes,
days.
my wife
no
did that.
Food. Exactly.
So I wouldn't call it a fasting. Is like I see like the Old Testament, and you know, you read the Bible, and like a lot of people sacrifice things, whatever it is something they love, you know, like look at Abraham with Isaac, you know, like so like what do I love, you know? And I you know, at this point, you know, you love Instagram. You know, we can deny it all we want, but if you're the first thing you open in the morning, last thing you check at nighttime, and you're on it all day, you check your phone, see how many hours you're on it, you probably do love it. And, you know, I love soda, I love sugar, so I gave that up. I had to give some things that really is gonna affect me. And that was I call it like a dedication, sacrifice to God. Like, here you go, thank you. And just thank you for the future. And I had this pastor tell me, you can't fast that, bro. Like, this and that. I was like, why can't I fast? Like, why can't I sacrifice that? Oh, you can't do that. Like, that's the way it works. And I told him, well, who are you to tell me what I could have a promise to God? This is my promise to God.
Private.
I go, who are you? I mean, I said it out loud, but who are you to tell me that I can't do that? I go, but you tell me at your church, you told everybody give double tithing today if you want a bigger blessing. God, I go, so I could sacrifice money for the basket. But God forbid me for, do Instagram or something like that. Like, I don't see the difference. Like, because if I'm rich and I have money, which I'm not, but if I do have money, give me 10% or a tithing is nothing to me. Here you go, take it. It don't mean nothing, but give me something you really love. And God knows your heart, and He knows what you're really sacrificing. So if your money in that 10% or whatever you're tithing is not going to really affect your lifestyle and the way you live, is it really a sacrifice? And it's not. So I don't care if you have the label or the pastor, you're not gonna tell me what my promise to God is.
Yeah, because it's personal. Mm-hmm. Your personal experience with Christ is personal. I could never talk you out of.
Yeah.
Your encounter with the Lord, I can't talk you out of it.
No.
You'll fight me on it because you're like, this is what He did for me.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
And then, so your sacrifice is personal.
Yeah.
And so for somebody to try and talk you out of it, it's chaos.
No, they won't. I go, that's cool, bro. Like, I'll see you at church Sunday. I'll see you. Worship's amazing. I'll see you at church Sunday. But like I said, maybe you read the Bible different than I do. I don't know. And I think a lot of people read the Bible different. And that's why there's so many dominions. That's why there's so many different churches. That's why, there's, Pentecostal, and then there's the Seventh-day Adventist. There's so many different labels of Christianity these days. I don't think we need to fight over it, though.
I think you said something right there when you said we don't need to fight over it. I think
we're on the same team, bro. I think we're all on the 100%. Same team. Maybe you practice it different than I practice it. Maybe you do like Hail Marys and you light candles, and hey, man, that's working for you, and that's between you and your God, and God's, then do it. Like, don't let me do. I'll joke about it, but it's fine.
I think Christians, because you don't hear this in Muslim faith, you don't hear it in Mormonism. Mm-hmm. They all support one another. They rally behind each other. But Christianity, for some reason, is
our biggest critics.
Not only are we critics, we tackle people that are on the same team. I don't want to see someone get ahead, so I'm going to stop them or come against them.
I've seen churches get mad at other churches because that church is bigger, or you went to this church, or, why'd you go to that church for? Why'd you go to that church for? Like, bro, like, does it make a difference?
So you feel like, grow up, stop it, let's just, maybe not let's all just get along, but
I'll give you an
example. Find unity?
A big YouTuber, Ruslan, and, he did a whole thing last week about prophets. And he's a big YouTuber, Ruslan, and I don't believe in prophets. If there's a prophet, prophets are never wrong. And if you're like, you shouldn't label yourself as a prophet, you're doing it for money and you're doing this and that. And then the week before that, he did a whole episode how terrible Joel Osteen is. Like, bro, like, do you even like Christians? Like, you're talking about prophet, and like, maybe some people like don't like Joel Osteen. Maybe his smile you think is fake. I listen to him. I think, man, like he's preaching the gospel. He's preaching positive. Like, why? How am I gonna hate on that guy? Like, maybe people don't like him and they think he should do more, but, he didn't open the church windows a flood or this and that. Did you open your house up, bro? And it's always people like, he has all this money. I go, he wrote books. Like, you're complaining about he don't give enough money, but when the last time you put money in the basket? You didn't even tithe. And you're talking about who gives money to what church? You didn't even tithe, bro. Like, it's none of your business at this point. But for a Christian to do to another Christian, it's crazy. It's like, man, like, you almost, not that I'll never, like, you're making people not when you want to be Christian. You're making it too hard, which it's not an easy walk of life. I get it, but you're like closing the door on a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, that's why one of my great desires is to learn one from another. Especially if I know somebody's solid. I'm not going to listen to somebody that's foolish, or extremist. I try to stay Christocentric, Christ-centered. You've known me from preaching on the pulpit and me hanging with you at the golf cart. I've been to yours and your wife's beautiful house. I think personally that I'm pretty balanced. I'm kind of the same on as well as off. I mean, there's a little differences, but what do you think? I'm asking you.
I think I think somewhat you're the same guy at church, and and the thing.
Stop right there.
I know. I just think you're the same dude. If not on the stage or in the golf course or at a family backyard party, like you're the same dude. You don't change.
One of the things, being at the backyard party, and the crazy thing was the witness that came out of it. I was there to minister for your wedding one time in the backyard party, and another time was the birthday party. And I think the thing for me that was really cool is all the people that came up to me. Like there was one lady, I don't remember her name, you might remember, but she was like known for being like a person of lesbianism, but she was
lesbianism. Is that a word?
I don't know.
Lesbianism.
For being I don't know, she had a status. Is that a
science word for being gay?
Status? She had a status for her homosexuality.
She was like a gay influencer, I would say. Is that what you're saying? Or
yeah, no, she had, I don't know. You called her a 2-star, 3-star, 4-star.
Oh, I'm talking about my gold star lesbian friend.
There you go.
Yeah, gold star lesbian is somebody that never even kissed a guy in their whole life. They never been with a guy. They always liked girls.
Yeah, so I think that's the young lady that came up to me at your wedding, and she asked me to pray for her.
Really?
Yeah, and she caught me on the way out.
How dare you pray for a gay person, Prophet Rob? What kind of Christian are you?
I'm one who loves who God loves.
Amen.
And so I prayed for her, and I remember her just weeping. And
everybody cried. I never cried on the pockets, man. Come here again.
First time for everything.
Yeah,
First time.
Yeah.
But I mean, for her to even ask, she must have sensed that I wasn't going to be judgmental and condemn her.
She just texted me when I was here. I showed you. Go ahead.
Yeah, and and to be able to just minister hope to her and life. Matter of fact, this is going to stir you up. It's going to stir you up.
Let's go.
You have a cousin.
Yeah.
He lives in Colorado.
Nice.
His name is
Albert.
He came. He was a little,
having fun.
And he asked me to pray, and then I ended up prophesying to him and his wife.
Oh.
And
Is that why she left all mad?
No, she began to weep and cry. And she was like, how did you know that? And we connected. I ended up preaching in Denver, Colorado area.
He didn't go to your thing.
He didn't go to the thing, but he invited me out to lunch.
Okay.
And we went and sat down, and he was going through a real difficult time. And so, I've been praying with him, off and on. And, the thing that's going to stir you up is he always told me he's dance champion.
He did the same move over and over again.
He said he's dance champion.
No, he is not. I'm the dance champion.
He stole the dance championship from you, that you had to surrender it.
He's a liar. I'm the best dancer there is.
So that's why I said it's going to stir you up.
Yeah, he did like you do a movie where he's stirring the pot. That's all he does is stirs the pot. And I always tell him that. It's the only move you have. But yeah.
So I was in Denver, Colorado, and I remember sending you a text.
So I didn't get the check.
Yeah.
Where is it at?
And he had me send you a text saying, Rob's hanging out with the real dance champion.
Oh, God, yes.
So go ahead. What's your rebuttal?
What do you mean?
What's your answer back?
He's not. I beat him multiple times, and I beat him in Vegas at a big Vegas venue, and I was sober when I beat him. So, and he was drinking, so he had a.
There you go. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you who the real dance champion is. You know who it is?
I can't picture Jesus dancing, so especially in those chanclas.
Nope. Somebody close to you. It's not me.
I seen the way you.
Oh, stop it! You haven't seen me.
Who's?
Me and my wife actually have won competitions and.
Get out of here!
100%. Ask her.
She's your wife. She's in life for you.
Bachata. So we don't.
Who in my family dances better than me?
Your wife. She dances longer. That's what they said. She's the official.
She can go all night dancing. I don't know and I get tired, especially I don't have my hokas on. But she could literally dance like nonstop.
I saw her. I've watched her on multiple occasions.
It's crazy how she go all night long.
Yeah, I watched her. She'll be dancing with you.
Yes.
You'll go get a potty break, whatever you need to do. Come back.
I'll go, I don't want to dance. I'm tired, dude. Like, she could dance the whole night away. Like, you ever see that movie Hocus Pocus Part 1 where they put the spell on them? The people are just dancing and they can't stop? Well, like, there's a little thing on her.
Or maybe it was a little Jesus on her.
Because I know you also, like, prophesied or prayed for my one of my friends. And you said, like, there was a witchcraft on him and there's demons around him. I don't know if you remember. I mean, probably a lot of my friends have that. So I don't know. But is that something, like, going back to the spiritual warfare, is that something that's common where demons are just, like, kind of surround somebody? Not to scare anybody away, but it is what it is. You might not even know you have demons around you, but those things you're doing is probably because they're stirring you that way.
Well, there's the familiar spirits.
Okay.
And so as long as people, how do I want to say it, is, you know, they might love God, but that spirit comes to oppress them. And so what we have to come to the knowledge is that Christ has the power to destroy it. Not just break it, but destroy it once and for all, bring people into
So what does
freedom.
somebody do that do have, like, a witchcraft against them?
Well, they have someone pray for them. They can fast and pray, and it'll break. They could pray for themselves. They could read God's word, and God's word will deliver them. They pray and believe, and
I really believe.
Yeah, and believe, and then let the Christ set them free. I've seen so many people set free from demonic powers and principalities.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have some crazy stories of what God has done in the lives of individuals, and you know, I've seen what God has done in my life. So it never ceases to amaze me at how we think of deliverance in the form of people vomiting and screaming and yelling and all of these manifestations. But my deliverance was I wept and I cried, and then I felt free. Jesus came into my life, set me free from my fears, my worries, my inhibitions, and he just began to love on me. And so a lot of people are afraid of deliverance because I don't want to do those things. But deliverance, when it truly happens by the Spirit of God, it's beautiful. And people find hope, people find peace, they find the love of God. And that's what I found. So, you know, there's many different ways to do things, you know, but that way is what changed my life.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking in the freedom of his love, the freedom of the grace that he's given me. And now my great desire is to help others find it and walk in it.
That's the same thing with my podcast. I'm just trying to, like, I know you about, like, you know, when I first started a podcast, you want to be that celebrity podcast, that big podcast.
Not you.
Yeah. And you want to be about views and this and that. But I'm at the point where God just put in my heart where I don't mean nothing. If it comes, it comes. But, like, hearing those testimonies that I started going to church, I heard your episode, and, you know, like, those mean more to me than, oh, you made me laugh, or, you know, that was, or whatever. So, like, those testimonies, like, and I get them all the time still. And I think that's, I even asked you, like, I don't know, like, because I'm always switching direction how the podcast should be or what's or what. And I want to be like that, where just, I feel at ease with what I'm doing, kind of.
Yeah, I think I remember telling you, because you went from being, you know, Rocky's rants.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm always going to do somewhat, you know.
So,
I can't help myself.
Your little tirade, soapbox,
Yes.
whatever you want to call it, your
Yeah.
opinion, you're opinionated,
Yeah.
and this is my stance, that's it, to then there was a time where you were coming on, you're singing worship songs, and then you were preaching, and you didn't even try to preach, it just came out of you.
Yeah.
And then,
Natural, guys.
Yeah. Honestly, I think you are a preacher. You're going to have, honestly, let me say this in a way, I want to really articulate this. I don't want to say I'm jealous, because I'm not jealous, but I am, I'd say, desiring. What I love about your podcast is people are in many different struggles and walks of life, and then you're the light that's shining. I go from church to church and I minister. Yeah. So I'm a saved man preaching to a saved group of people. But I love your platform in ministering.
So you're saying you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, I don't want to do
saying,
that.
yeah.
I don't. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. You know, I'm preaching to the saved when my desire is still to minister to the lost.
It goes back to Lutheran. You know, he built this amazing little place with the wall, and God says, "What are you doing here? Like, you're not even you're living this great life, but you built a wall around you. How is that helping anything out?
Yeah,
Knock that wall down."
What I really love is that you have a congregation, podcast people, right? But you don't have walls. And so when I get to go on and share, it's so amazing that I'll get 50 DMs to pray for people. You'll give my number to several people that are close to you.
Sorry about that.
People,
I even give your number out to everybody. It's called Papa Rob.
Papa Rob, yeah. And they do. That's crazy thing is
man,
they're
thirsty for it.
And that's what I really desire. So this last year, Juanita and I and my daughter Carly, we had an opportunity to go to China, and there you can't preach the gospel. But God opened the door. Yeah, God opened the door, and I was able to minister to a group of people by the grace of God. And I ended up baptizing 6, 7 people, prophesied to 13, 14 different people, and just was able to evangelize and share the gospel. That's what I want to say. What I'm jealous of, and my desire is, you know, because there's a whole world, and I'm not jealous of you, but that's the desire that I have, is to evangelize and reach a world.
Well, I think that's the thing is where I was telling my wife that I really believe that like my just my Christian network, the people I know that have these platforms or these big churches, is like, I feel like God put these people in my life for a reason. Maybe I'm not using it yet. Like, do you have access to this person or this person? You're not really using the access of it. But even by you being in my life for the last 3 years, you know, my door's open for you. So you just come on in, and like, how many people have their life changed because they know me, and now because they know me, they know you. So, and that's because we're not Christians that hate on each other.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point.
We're for each other.
That's the whole, it should be, every church should have the same goal. Saving souls. That's it.
Changing lives.
That's it, man.
Offering hope, offering help. You just kind of reminded me of the time that I went, and you were doing Raffle Boys at that time, and your cousin came. And we were talking about it when we were just kind of casual conversation, and you said that she wanted that private meeting. And remember?
I heard boom, boom. Because you guys went in a room, and she was telling you whatever, and I just heard a big old thump. I was like, oh my God, like, did Papa not have a spotter? Like, this girl just fell on the floor. Like,
so she was sitting on your couch, and she fell off.
Yeah.
And she sobbed.
But she told me, so this is because I told you that her whole household changed with my aunt, the whole life. It's just a beautiful thing to see in person, like to witness her, my aunt, and what happens in that house is just amazing.
Yeah, so she's the one that was part of a religion, and I believe she's the one.
So she was church hurt, I would say. When she was in high school, I mean, she would go to Kingdom Hall, Jehovah's Witness, you know, and I think they changed things from what I heard recently, but she did get pregnant when she was in high school, and they kicked her out of the Kingdom Hall, which at that time, she needed more prayers and fellowship than ever. Like, she's going through this time where she's young and she's pregnant, and to kick her out, it just like, this is what she needs you guys the most. Like, what are you kicking her out for? So she was church for years, decades. And she heard my podcast. She would always listen to my podcast. I'm her cousin, and she would listen to it because it's funny, or, you know, or before I got married, it was dating stories or just rants, and just like, oh my God, what's this guy yelling about now? You know, just funny. And then I had that season where, you know, God put in my heart to start talking about these different things, you know, more of a sprinkle of Christian on it, a little Jesus juice. And she heard an episode and she called me and said she was crying on it. And just that little episode, I mean, she was a candle that she lit in her house and lit the other candles, and our house is all brightened up. And just by that one episode, it's not only like life change for her, but for her kid, for her mom, for my other cousins, for anybody that she meets. And now it's like snowballing. Now she's doing theology classes, and she goes to Refuge in Rancho Cucamonga because she tried these mega churches, which is cool. Like, I think their mega churches are amazing for an elementary Christian. Like, you want to get the worship going. You want to hear a good, positive word. But a lot of, mega churches, it's hard to dive really deep into it. It's kind of like, it's your Sunday fix. I walk out, I feel great right now. It's a Sunday high.
So I still remember she was dating a guy for years.
Years.
And she asked me, and I just said, you want me to be honest with you?
Yeah.
And so I told her the truth.
Yeah.
And I said, you're using him, but he's not going to change. And she was willing to
He don't need to change because she's not going anywhere. Like, why does he need to change for you? It's been 20 years and you haven't left me yet.
Yep. And then she did.
And she hasn't looked back since.
And then she's
probably not a fan of you. Now it's around.
Right. But then the thing that she was looking for closure. Her father had passed away.
So she told me the way you described of my tío that passed away, her dad, that you described it of how she found him. And even you described the pillow that he had, the color of it or something. She was telling me, obviously I wasn't in the room, and she was saying the way he explained me seeing my dad die, it's like he was there almost. And but you gave her some comfort, because you told her, it's private. She didn't really tell me so much, but you told her some things that gave her really good comfort of her dad passing. Because I know she wasn't comfortable, like, where is he? And it was just, yeah, man. And then she's she's dating a new dude now. And, when you're a Christian, or, you're so high on church, you know how it is when you're on fire, When you're on fire, nobody can tell you any different, man. Like, oh, man, you need to go to church. And that's a cool high to be on. And she's on that high right now. And she's trying to change this guy she's dating. Oh, you need to go to church with me. And at Refuge, and I think we can both agree at Refuge Church in Rancho Cucamonga, California. If you're in the local area, please check it out. It's a mature church. They don't hold back punches. They tell you how it is. If your feelings are hurt, sorry about it. It's not an elementary church, but it's a big boy church, and they are praying demons out of people. They are changing lives, and she goes there now, and some guy, I don't know if he's a prophet or not, but prophetic. Yeah, and she was having this conversation with her mom about this guy she's dating. And she's like, well, I'm not getting younger, Mom. The whole thing. She goes, should I just settle with him? Should I just settle? And, my tia, my aunt, her mom says, I don't know. Like, pray on it. And as soon as she walked in church, that guy, I believe it's Adrian.
Yep.
Adrian goes, do not settle. What? Like, what? And he told her.
Power of the prophetic. That's the word of knowledge. And he told
her multiple times already that I feel sorry for the guy, because this is ultimate cop blocking, but.
You said that of me many times. Yes.
And right now I should be a player, all of. Anyways, so he goes, tells her, like, man, look at, like, God has the guy for you that you're not gonna have to change. He's a God-fearing man already, Christian, and when God puts him in your life, you are gonna know. Like, you're gonna know without a question. But to do that, we all seen that meme on Instagram, on social media with, this girl has this little teddy bear, and then Jesus has a teddy bear behind his back, and this little girl don't want to get a teddy bear up, but she doesn't know that, like, Jesus has a bigger teddy bear for you. And for her to get that gift from God, like, you got to give up that guy. You have to give him up. And, you know, and that's what I'm doing even with my fasting or whatever you want to call it. Like, I'm going to give these things up for a bigger blessing.
So you called me the blocker of blockers.
Call block.
Why were you calling me that? Do you remember why?
At this time, well, so I got an argument with Prophet Rob. Well, not an argument because he doesn't argue back. He just listens like a good dude. And I remember I was actually walking into the gym and we're having this morning conversation when me and my, at this time, my wife was my girlfriend at this time. And, you know, she was going through her personal problems, personal struggles. And she needed time alone. And no guy wants to hear that. Like, and you're all like, well, just be patient. Like, she's the one for you. She's going to be your wife. I go, no, she's not.
God already told me.
Yeah, I go, no, she's not. I go, she's not the one for me. And like,
she was, but she blew it.
Yeah, I kind of wanted an excuse to just go be a dude. Like, had a nice apartment. And I just wanted to just, I kind of wanted an excuse to go, you know, do whatever. Kind of just be single again. And you're all, no, like, you're kind of telling me that, and I just ended up being patient, and it obviously worked out. We got married now. But I remember when we got engaged, I don't know what came over you, but maybe you shouldn't have sex until you're married, and you know, or whatever. I was like, dude, I'm living with my fiance, and now I can't even have sex with her. And I was like,
you're welcome.
Cop blocking Prophet Rob. Like, I'm sleeping next to my beautiful wife and I can't even do anything. So I go, this guy just cop blocked me right now. And she was good. Like, she wouldn't give it up. She wouldn't. Yeah, I definitely wasn't making him clap, tell you that. Like, so yeah.
Rocky.
There's no clapping in that bedroom. But yeah, you're the ultimate cop blocker. But like, it's funny, but it's things that just made sense. Sometimes you have to dedicate things to God.
Looking back now, though, was it worth it?
I mean, I guess. I mean, no, but yeah, it's fine because that's something like we want to, you know, sacrifice for God for, you know, having a good marriage.
You got over it,
yeah.
So you're good.
Yeah. So I was even telling my cousin Steph that I was talking about. I go, imagine like, imagine. This is what I tell people like. Sometimes most of the time, we don't know what we're praying for. You know, we treat God like a genie and we want him to grant our wishes. And that's not the way it works. God's going to bless you what he wants to bless you with. And, you know, you could have an opinion on it, but, you know, a kid asking their dad for a present, and he's like, I didn't get you that. You're going to hurt yourself. So a lot of us, you know, we're in this relationship, whatever it is, and maybe the husband's cheating or, you know, the wife's cheating. Not even a married couple, but just a girlfriend or boyfriend. And how many times did we ask God, oh, God, please make the relationship work? And I've been in that situation, you know, where, you know, dated some girl or, you know, or this girl or that girl, and, oh, God, just make this work. You know, like, how come it's not working? You pray that it works out, or pray, God, give me this girl, like, I know I'll be good, and he don't answer your prayers. But imagine that, like, now I look back, bro, I can't believe you want to even be with that chick. Like, what the heck? Like, a lot of times we don't know what we're praying for. We don't know what we're praying for. And a lot of times, you know, we look back at our prayers and we're like, man, thank God didn't answer those prayers. He did not bless me with that prayer. That sounds like a nightmare right now, you know. So I'll say be patient with God. It's God's timing always.
Kind of just reminded me of, it was your cousin Stephanie.
She's like a star in the show today, huh?
Right?
Yeah.
But she's had such drastic encounters and transformations.
It's a beautiful thing to witness.
She was the one that liked to sip, right?
Drink.
Yes.
She did more than sip. She was pounding.
She struggled for many years. Yeah. And one day she called me and she asked me, will you pray? Because I want to give up alcohol.
Yeah.
And I remember praying for her that the desire would be taken away. And even if she put it in her mouth again, it would taste horrible to her.
I think she went to Vegas.
Exactly.
She went to Las Vegas. I believe I was there. And she just couldn't enjoy the alcohol. And yeah, that was definitely a thing where you don't get the pleasure out of it anymore.
Yeah, well, you were talking about something very powerful. Sometimes we're praying for things and we don't even realize, or asking God to help us and we don't even realize. So God delivered her, and she maybe not even fully realized that it was gone. She was celebrating that she wasn't drinking anymore.
Yeah.
But when she was there, her moment was this: oh, I'm in the mood because everybody else is.
We're at a wedding, I believe, or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
But even when she tried, God so honored his prayer that it couldn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah. It just so her testimony is really amazing. Maybe get her on the show one day. If she's ready to tell it or something. But it's really a unique story. That
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, all these people that we kind of talked about today, as well as yourself, it's all fruit from the Rocky Nash podcast. That's honestly, that's one of the only podcasts I listen to. One, you're my friend, but two, I like it. I enjoy
and your daughter loves it too.
Yes, she'll ask me to send them to her. When you send one, I'll forward it.
Okay.
And she'll listen to it, and then we'll talk about it. Because then it gives us something to kind of back and forth on, and she'll say, he was so dumb when he said, and I'll say, absolutely.
Oh, my God.
Dumb in a good way, not dumb bad,
Yeah.
But, so I guess the next question I have is, when are we going to play some golf?
I'll be in town. Well, not in town, not on the road for like at least next 2 to 3 weeks. So we could definitely get something in. Because once I start hitting the road, I'll be on the road, which is a good thing, But right now, I think about 3 weeks to kill.
We'll do it.
So
it's always fun to hang out with you and Miss Delia.
I love it.
We always go chill, have
and
a
your
good time.
hospitality over here is amazing. Like the hotel you put us at, the restaurants we eat at, and they already got a whole. I don't know if you call it a massage, but whatever that spaceship you put her in.
It's called the Hokit.
Yeah, if you're in Merced area, guys, there's a Hokit. If you have back problems or stress, or it takes all your toxic. It's science.
Science. You're absolutely right. It is a detoxifying machine. Cleanses 10 organs at one time. Gets rid of brain fog, anxieties, de-stresses your body, rejuvenates you, gives you like a new lease on life, all in a 30-minute session. So I hope she really felt treated. I know she was like, no, it's cool, don't do it, but we really wanted to.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to listen to watch more of these episodes. I believe I was maybe the first one or
You're the first one, man.
Yeah, oh, man. And what's crazy? Your producer, your amazing producer, Abel. Because I remember I would do this on my podcast real fast, because I know we're coming to an end. But I remember on my podcast, like, I would tell the guests, because we're doing, like, real people, real stories. That was our motto. And obviously when somebody cries, it's always good views. This is good. It's a good story. He goes, hey, if you want to be vulnerable and cry, go ahead. I go, bro, I'm not going to freaking cry.
I'm not going to freaking cry. Not Rocky Nash.
I'm not going to freaking cry, dude. Like,
what not a crybaby.
And I don't know what the hell that. Yeah, but yeah, you're welcome, Abel. You're welcome, bro. So yeah,
but you know what? That was the depth of your story. It was probably it was good. It was good. Good for you.
Felt good, actually. To be honest with you.
Yeah, that's probably pent up emotion that.
Like I said, like a lot of things I did hold in. Like I don't like my family to know things that I've done, or it's something to glorify or brag about. Or it's very, I always say this. I'll leave it as this: you do stupid things to impress stupid people. I mean, it is what it is. If you're doing foolish things, you're trying to impress fools. It is what you could say what all you want about it, but if you're going to go do those dumb things, man, that's on you. So that's something to brag about.
No, absolutely.
So I'll say that.
Well, I'll say this, man. Thank you for telling me your story.
You're welcome. I didn't even get at it. I told you I can't say too much. I wouldn't say too much as far as, certain kind of lifestyle. But that's my, look at, man, the walk, you're walking with Christ and Jesus. It's not a perfect walk. It never will be. You're going to fall off the path sometimes. You know how to,
the righteous gets back up.
As long as you know how to get back to the path. And I told you there's seasons where I'm just a different Christian than, no matter my lifestyle. I think Christian word is thrown around too much. Like, even you're in this, this dark season in your life. I mean, as long as you believe in Christ, that makes you a Christian. Not because this church or this pastor say you're a Christian, not because your wife or your husband say you're a Christian. It's because you believe in Christ and you believe he's the way. But I'm saying for people, okay. Prophet Rob. But I'm saying, like, don't let anybody tell you you're not a Christian, no matter what season you're in. And that's being a Christian, no matter what this other Christian's going to say about
Paul
you.
Paul says, if I abound, I'm doing good, or abase.
I wouldn't get along with Paul if I knew him. And that's one person I know I wouldn't get along with in the Bible.
Why would you not get that's you?
I feel like Paul was very judgmental in some things. He wanted his homie to like leave his wife and go do his church with him. I forgot his homie's name. So he go, yeah, you need to leave your wife and just go with me. And I go, bro, like, kick you just because you're not married, fool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just because you're not married, leave my wife. So a lot of things that, but that's me. Like, I think I'll get along with David most likely. I think I'll get
along. Shepherd boy?
Yeah, he's a
warrior,
little player.
King.
Yeah.
So the part you think you could get along with because he was a player?
No, as far as he
was a man of worship.
Like he fell short. Like David
you relate to him.
Yeah, like and just because he played the flute and he sang and like, man, this guy was a gladiator, man. Like and I feel like sometimes like I could be like that, I could be like kind of like on this side a little bit, and he just always fell short, but he always loved God. And I think that's, so like to me, that's what I mean. Not the player thing, not saying that, but I'm saying like he just fell short. Solomon, I mean, everybody in the Bible falls short a little bit, Well,
Jesus comes out of a dark genealogy,
Yeah.
So
like I relate to, I think a lot of men, they like to think they relate to David. I mean, who doesn't want to relate to David a little bit, Solomon, not so much. His son, not too much, even though I like Solomon a lot. But yeah, Paul, like, I don't know. He seemed like one of those Christians that's gonna,
you would have argued with?
Me and Paul go out, we'll argue all day. He'll probably beat me up because, he's a warrior. But I think Paul was the one guy go, I don't know, bro. You need to take it easy. You're pointing fingers at everybody, But
I hear you.
But that's it, man.
That's the Rocky opinion.
That's my opinion. And, my opinion always, that's one thing about the podcast. My opinion always changes. Like, just because I said at this episode, I might think way different next episode,
Well, do me a favor. Tell everybody where they can find and listen to.
Well, it's on, I don't do the YouTube and video thing. I've done it before, and it was pretty good. But, like, for me, my personal thing, I believe podcast is made for audio. Listening in the car and traffic, cubicle, gym. It's just, it's an audio thing. So I love doing audio. So it's on all audio platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, any kind of, just type in Rocky Nash. Rocky Nash, it'll pop out any audio. Like this, for instance, are you calling this a podcast? It's a podcast? Yes. But I feel like it's like a talk show almost. It's a show.
I just want to learn.
Not even a talk show. It's like, this is a nice show. This is a good show, And that's why I look at it, So, yeah, all audio platform, Rocky Nash, and you'll probably disagree with me a lot of things, and you'll probably be yelling in the car at me like, shut up. Like, I have so many friends that have my number that go, bro, what are you talking about? Like, and they want to debate because they know I won't debate with anybody in the DMs. I don't really look at my DMs on Instagram. But people that do have my number, they just want to go, bro, what? Like, and they want to debate over text. Like, I don't want to debate. Just listen to the podcast. That's it, man. I'm always right.
Well, thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for being the real Rocky Nash. Thanks for being you. Thanks for being vulnerable. But thanks for coming and hanging out, man. I truly appreciate it. All right.
Thank you, Prophet.
We'll see y'all soon.
Hey, Bo, we're done.